Hello everyone, my name is Michael Chin, and today I wanted to go over something that a lot of people think is impossible in Source Filmmaker, and it's how to mirror animations. Now, this tutorial will apply to most every animation program out there, but in a lot of animation programs it's a lot easier to mirror an animation. In this tutorial, it will explain how the other programs mirror, like behind the scenes. You just kind of click a button and it does it. So it's a little bit of an insight. It's a little bit of a tutorial. Anyway, let's get started. It's actually surprisingly simple. What you have to do, you basically just flip the model around and take that rotation information and apply it to a new model. The first thing you're going to want to do is you need to have a reference point for the new model. So you take your animation and make sure the first frame of the animation is in T-pose, in its untouched state. Then you make a copy of the model. Now the new model, I'm going to make him have a blue shirt so that we don't get confused. So the blue shirt is supposed to be left-handed, and the right shirt is the original right-handed model. So there's two parts to this. The first part is getting the translation and rotation in the hips, and then you just have to do rotation for the rest of the bones. But just stick with me, and we'll get through it together. So take the model you want to mirror and make sure it doesn't have any animation. If I were to play this together, you see the right-handed one is fully animated, and the left one just staying in its T-pose. So what you're going to want to do is take the right-handed model and turn it upside down from the root. Make sure it's the root, not the pelvis. And then in doing so, you'll see the two models. And basically, it's starting to look like it's already mirrored, you know. So let me explain why turning upside down helps. So you'll notice that this is both right-handed models. But you notice the animation when the one on the top goes to the right, the one on the bottom goes to the left. And that means that the translation is perfect for mirror. However, the only problem is when the one on the top goes up, the one on the bottom goes down in terms of like the same axis, the world axis. And that's the one problem with translation, but I'll show you how to fix that. You don't want to take the model that has the animation and point constrain its pelvis to the mirrored model's pelvis. It's very important that you go back and make sure that when you're doing constraint that you do it on the T pose. Otherwise the animation isn't going to come out correct. So now when I hit play, you'll see that the model moves in a mirrored way left and right to the model on top. Not forward and backwards, which is what we want. And unfortunately, it does mirror up and down, which is what we don't want. And I'm going to show you how to fix that now. So in order to fix that, you will need the original animation on the top. So what we're going to have to do is, if you see here the Z-axis, the blue arrow, we're going to have to copy that movement, but I'll have to offload this into a axis helper. That way the orientation is correct. So we'll make a new model of a helper. And then what I'm going to do is take the pelvis from the animated model on top and put it into the root transform. Then I'm going to zero it out so that now if I turn off the animation, you can see it follows the same path as the hips. Then what you're going to want to do is take the lock off. That way that animation is now baked into the axis helper. Then take the rotation and zero it out. It shouldn't affect the transformation. You'll notice that those dots are in the same exact spot as they were. Now copy the helper. If you want to label these, we can. Original path, and then this is mirrored path. So then take the mirrored path the mirrored animation. Take the pelvis and do the same to that one. Zero it out. Then take the lock and turn it off. Go to the rotation and zero that out. So that they are both oriented the same way. So what we have here is that the mirrored path right now is exactly what we want, except for up and down. And then the original path is just the original path. And that has the correct up and down, but not the correct left and right. So what we need to do is take the mirrored path and drag it onto the original path. Then we open up the position for this, take X and Y, and zero it out. And you'll notice when you do that, basically you're flipping the you're flipping left and right by doing that. So this is how it was, and now this is how it is after zeroing it out. So now if we turn the lock off on that, we can actually delete the mirrored path. We don't need that anymore. So now that we have the helper that has the absolute correct path that we want, we need to apply that to the pelvis. But first we have to take the pelvis and remove the constraints. So now take the helper and drag it onto the pelvis. Then take the pelvis and drag playhead so that it flips it. And now, if we take a look at the top, if we have the blue and red on top play together, you'll notice that they move in exactly mirrored ways. However, it's not rotating the mirrored way, which is what we're going to do now. We're going to work on the rotations for all the bones. What you can do is you can take the lock off of the pelvis. We don't need that anymore. Should be applied. So now the pelvis is moving exactly how we want it to. Now we want it to rotate the right way. And actually, what you need to do is take the bottom model and turn it around. Take the bottom model and turn it around 180 degrees. So 0 and 180. Make sure it is perfect. You have to make sure that you dial in those numbers. It has to be 180 exactly. So now what you're going to have to do is pretty much apply a orientation constraint to every single bone. However, left is right and right is left. It's important when you're doing the constraint orients to make sure that you do it in the order of the bones. For example, if I'm doing an arm, you have to do collar, upper arm, lower arm, hand, 2 fingers. If you do it in any other order that goes from pelvis over down, if you do it in any other order, your animation will not be correct in the end. You absolutely have to go down the chain. So let's start off with all the body bones, except for the root. Take the pelvis from the bottom, the pelvis from the top, right click, and go to Constraint Orient. And if you do that, the pelvis should be moving the correct way. We can take a look by enabling the top animation again for reference, and notice that now the top one is moving in exactly mirrored way. So now pretty much you do this for the rest of the bones, and I'm just going to speed this up. So before continuing, I just want you to see what it looks like with all the bones mirrored, for the body at least. You notice that they are moving exactly the same way, but mirrored. Now, like I said, for bones straight down the middle, they're down the middle, doesn't really matter. But left needs to become right and right needs to become left. So, let's move on to the arms. Now, for the original one, for bip collar L, on the bottom one, I'm going to constraint orient that to the bip collar R. So now if I hit play, you can see that the right arm moves like the original animation's left arm. So pretty much from here on out, you just do left to right, right to left with corresponding bones, including fingers and extras in the unknown and everything. And if you do that, you'll have a perfectly mirrored animation. And I'll speed this forward so that you can see the end result. Okay, so now when you finish, you should have a perfectly mirrored animation. Take a look. You'll see that they are perfectly in sync and mirrored one another exactly. And there you have it, your perfectly mirrored animation within Source Filmmaker. When you finish, before deleting anything else, make sure you save. You're going to want to actually bake and remove your constraints. Otherwise, when you delete your extra models, it's going to glitch out. So make sure to take the model that is your finished mirrored model, in this case, the scout with the blue shirt, right-click it, go to Constraints, and hit Bake Constraints. It's very important that you do that. It's going to take a moment. Then after that, go to Constraints and remove Constraints. Your mirrored model should have no ties to any other model now, but should be completely mirrored, which means that you go ahead and delete all the extras. And there you have it, your perfectly mirrored model. So anyway, thank you for watching. This was a really fun video to make. It's something I've been wanting to make for a while. It wasn't the video I wanted to make this week, but I had to spend a lot of time helping a lot of people, so I didn't have much time to myself. However, I really do appreciate you tuning in, and please like and share. I really feel like this will help a lot of people out there, so please do share this video. Well, thank you, and until next time.